Well, hey there. And welcome to Surprise Me, Joel, with your host, Joel Zaslofsky. Whether or not you're listening on January 21st, better known as International Hugging Day, that's not important. It's what you do on all the other days of the year that matters. I'd love to give you a big old hug to show you just how much I appreciate your time and attention in this episode. Now, since I can't give you a great hug while you listen, maybe we'll take a rain check. And even better, I hope what I'm about to explore will help you give everyone else better hugs and make the world a more huggable, lovable place. As we get into this episode, you might be asking yourself, is Joel seriously doing a dedicated episode on what he feels and knows to be the best way to give great hugs? And the answer is yes. Yes, I am. The power of the hug is one of the most misunderstood and valuable things we can offer each other, and it's definitely worth an entire episode. Let's start with why. Here's what I believe. If we hugged more, or hugs became a more prominent way of greeting or saying farewell to another human, we'd trust each other more. Power differentials like the boss employee one or leader slash follower, they would feel and be less stark when both people have physically held each other. The handshake, especially in a business context, that's partly a dominance ritual. It's about grip strength, eye contact, who releases first. A hug, it doesn't have that same burdensome context. Now I know our current default global greeting, the handshake, you know it. You might not love it, you know it. It evolved in part because it's a fast, low stakes, very low information exchange kind of thing. Whereas a hug requires more calibration, more consent, and more physical proximity. There are billions of people on our planet already uncomfortable with or even traumatized by physical contact. And forced default to hugging, which I'm not advocating for, would feel like cultural imperialism or something to avoid at all costs. To say nothing of, it's not particularly a great idea if there's a global pandemic going on. I've heard other arguments like the workplace harassment landscape would also get significantly more complex if, at least in the short term, if we hugged more frequently or even made it the default. So to be clear, the norms around hugging are something I want to change over time, not happen immediately, because I don't have a magic wand. I can't wave it even if I wanted to. I'm going to save a deep dive into the realm of quantum biology for another episode, but I will say, and this is going to get nerdy, the bioelectric exchanged during sustained physical contact, it's its own phenomenon. Like skin-to-skin contact, it involves photon exchange, piezoelectric effects in connective tissue, and electromagnetic field overlap. If your eyes are glazing over, if you're wondering, Joel, are those good things or are they bad things? I assure you, they are good things. Humans are antennas. We are electromagnetic creatures, and hugging is literally tuning into another person's signal. Close touch also communicates things that words simply can't. I actually read some studies, nonverbal emotional communication, and they consistently show that close, brief touch, just alone, just that, can convey some of the best things that we can offer each other with a whole lot of accuracy. I'm talking about love, gratitude, compassion, the good stuff that you want more of, that I want more of, that the world needs more of. And I guess I don't necessarily need hugs to replace handshakes. There is absolutely a place for them along with other greetings and farewells like the bow, the namaste, the Maori hangai, the cheek kiss, the fist bump. There are dozens of other forms of respectful acknowledgement. They carry deep meaning in their own context. Those are all groovy. They need to continue. In other ways, in many Mediterranean and Latin American and Middle Eastern cultures, cheek kisses. The cheek kiss. It's the default greeting, and hugs carry a different weight. I get that. Many parts of Asia, physical contact between near strangers or even people who have known each other for a while, that can be genuinely forbidden. So, yes, I realize that much of what I'm bringing to this episode is culturally encoded to European American norms. What the bottom line is I'm trying to say that I want more consent-based, read the room, high-quality touch to become more normalized. That's really it. So now that you understand a bit about why I feel so strongly about it, let me explain a little bit about where I got an idea for an episode all about hugs. Going back in the time machine, going back to the time when I actually used Facebook, back in 2017, I shared a post about my secrets to giving a great hug. It got a tremendous response, and I learned more about what makes for a great hug from other people's views and different cultures, genders, and lived experiences. I have to say, I've been told repeatedly and enthusiastically over many years what a great hugger I am and how it makes family, friends, acquaintances, even strangers connect better with me. Not to mention regularly getting all warm and fuzzy inside and outside. I'm a big fan of that, both the giving and receiving part. If you're like, dude, I am not a hugger, it's cool. I encourage you to listen and see the world of hugging through a lens that may surprise you. And if you're like, Joel, I enjoy hugs as much as the next person, but it's my culture, my friends, my family. They would never go for this whole let's hug it out thing instead of their preferred greeting and farewell gesture. I have some pro tips for you that may tip the scales in your hugging favor. I do have some biases. I've got a couple things to acknowledge here. I'm 6 feet 5 inches, or about 2 meters tall. I am physically uninhibited, a self-described and widely known physical touch person, and I'm an extrovert. I've been thinking about and experimenting with hugs for a long time. If you aren't any of those things, this still applies to you. Some of my upcoming tips, especially around duration and going straight on, they may feel, genuinely foreign or even anxiety inducing, at least initially for you. It's cool. Don't worry. We can work with whatever physical, mental, emotional, or cultural realities you bring to the hugging mix. If you haven't thought about it, a hug is much more than two people embracing. It can say much more than you expect about who you are, what your values are, what you represent, and the relationships you have with everyone around you. All right, it's time. Huddle in close for this episode because you're about to learn some special things about how to give a great hug. Goodness, that was probably my longest lead in to a podcast episode ever. Let's get contextual and get to the tips. Here we go. Okay, I realize just a minor fake out. I will share my tips and not so secret secrets in a little bit. I still need to give some credit where credit is due and give you a little bit of backstory and context. So, it's July 2014. Ryan Nicodemus is working the hug line at the Minimalists Everything That Remains tour stop in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm there. People would come up to him for a handshake, and he'd respond with outstretched arms. I can see the sly smile on his face, and he'd say something like, "Come on, bring it in, brother or sister." Man, it was beautiful to see the offered handshake instantly converted into a hug. And I noticed that universally it left the huggee feeling darn good. It was that moment, that event, that I decided I wanted a hug to be my default greeting as well. Because you're no longer strangers after you've hugged each other. I repeat, you're no longer strangers after you've hugged each other. So that's why you might hear me say, bring it in, when I have a tentative hugger on my hands. Now, I get it. There's individual and cultural hug-free zones. I respect them. But, there's going to be a few buts in this. And I'm actually going to be talking about butts as in booties shortly. Let's jump forward a year. It's 2015. I'm at the World Domination Summit in Portland, Oregon. I'm standing in line, waiting for the theater doors to open on the first day, and I just get straight up hit/loved with a full body hug from behind. I have no idea who it is. And I remember saying something to the mystery hugger who's just totally wrapped around me. I don't know who you are, but let's keep this going. Like 10 seconds later or 20 or 30, I don't know, I wasn't counting. My mystery hugger makes herself known, and it was none other than the hugging dynamo, Naz Thompson. So, of course, I immediately go in for my bonus frontward-facing traditional hug, and I'm feeling a deep squeeze of lovety goodness. Naz gives amazing. I'm not letting you go until I feel like it, and you'll enjoy every second of it. Hugs, which also shifted my perspective on the ideal length of a great hug. I'm going to be going back and forth, anticipating some thoughts that people are having. Maybe it seems like a good time to reiterate that hugs, just like any other kind of physical touch, needs to be consensual unless you already know that you have permission. There are a lot of shady hugs given and received every day, and I am not okay with that. If I or anyone else comes at you with outstretched arms, hoping for or expecting a hug, you always have the right to say, stop, I'm not a hugger, I don't want to hug you. And if you hear someone say, come on, bring it in, brother, come on, bring it in, sister, you have permission to politely smile or forcibly scowl as you step away and say, nope. With that in mind, there are also broader contexts than the one-to-one you and me are greeting each other or saying goodbye scenarios when hugging isn't typically done or is a serious societal no-no. I'm not trying to say that the hug is for all of the world's people and cultures or that it's always superior to other types of gestures. That's just not true. If you want to stick to sticking your tongue out to greet people like some Tibetan monks do, cool. They also press the hands together, place them in front of the chest to show that they come in peace. Also, very cool. If you're in the Philippines and you want to greet with the mano, which is hand in Spanish, you can take an elder's hand, gently press it on your forehead. If you want to give a bow, a namaste, nosies, or like other people call nose kisses, kisses on the cheeks, Maori, Hongai, where you press your foreheads together and look each other in the eyes. Cool. All good. All good. Each of these different types of greetings shares some of the most important symbols and meaning behind the best hugs. And depending on who your potential hugging partner is, you may have better luck in general with, I don't know, like Brazilians, at least in my experience, who don't shy away from physical contact like, and I'm generalizing here, like certain Asian cultures do. So I want you to remember, a genuine, well-intentioned hug represents how warmly and openly you plan to communicate with each other for the rest of your time together. Whereas a bow might say, I plan to respect you until you give me a reason not to respect you. A hug can say, I plan to let you get emotionally, mentally, or spiritually close to me, and you'll do the same until we give each other a reason not to. Alrighty, you've waited long enough. Now, for those respectful, everybody wins, if the hugging is mutual, how-to tips I promised. Except for the first item, These are in very rough order of importance. It's not like if you mess one of these up and nail the others, your hug is going to just be brutal. No, not like that at all. There are layers. They interweave and stack on top of each other. And you can still give a strong hug even if some of these don't or can't happen. First, here's an overview of the 15 things, yes, 15 things, I believe are most important to a great hug. 1, it comes from the inside. It's all about the energy, baby. 2, you are getting a hug as well. 3, give options. 4, put the phone away first. 5, relax. Just relax. 6, aim for 5 seconds or more. 7, telegraph the hug. 8, come straight on. 9, lead with the right body part. 10, smooth out the height difference, if there is one, says the very freakishly tall man. 11, mind the chin. 12, longer arms go on the outside. 13, don't start too strong. 14, try for the one last squeeze. And 15, a graceful exit. Okay, now for the details. First and most importantly, hugs are primarily an energetic exchange. You got that? Hugs are primarily an energetic exchange. My friend Naz, who I mentioned a moment ago, and is one of my biggest hugging inspirations, she says that hugging actually comes from the inside. For her, it's a whole being energetic thing. When Naz hugs you, she actually invokes all the love she feels for you and showers you with it. She's imagining surrounding you with all the goodness that she can muster. And I think that's a huge part of why her hugs are just so darn good. If you bring gratitude and good vibes, your arms naturally know where to go, your body relaxes, your duration extends, and your squeeze just lands. I found the best huggers actually elevate the energy of whoever they're hugging. It's about helping your hugging partner be a little more present, a little more warm than they may have expected. Everything else I'm about to say is scaffolding if you don't agree that hugs are primarily an energetic exchange. All right, we got that established. Next, pretty much everything I'm about to discuss is about how to give a great hug. Please remember, you're getting a hug too. It's easy, I've done it so many times. It's easy to lose your focus on giving and forget about the receiving. Because as I was just talking about energy, it's not a one-way transfer of energy. It's a two-way thing. Feel the hug your partner has given you. You might want to soften your body. Let yourself be held. Resist the urge to manage the hug and dictate all the terms of it. Be open, be receptive, and receive as well as you give. People will notice a difference when you accept as well as you offer. Back to the giving side of things. Give people with undeclared or unknown hug preferences some options. You know what you're getting into when you hug a family member or a longtime friend. But that person you just met? When that happens for me, I like to greet them by saying something like, "What's your pleasure? A hug? Handshake? High five? Fist bump? Or something else?" And then they get to name what they'd like in the moment. Notice how I intentionally listed the hug first in those options. I know what you're thinking. Ooh, subtle, Joel. Very subtle. Next, put your phone away before you go in. Walking into a hug while glancing at your screen or even pocketing your phone at the last moment, that sends a signal. A full presence starts before the hug does. And really, besides, it's hard to embrace someone while you're embracing your phone with one hand. Similarly, if anything else is encumbering you or will get between you and your hugging partner, like literally get between you and your hugging partner, a heavy jacket, for example, see if you can remove them before hugging it up. I've lived in a place that gets pretty dang cold for a good chunk of the year all my life, and I know something about bulky jacket hugs. Ah, they feel like there are layers of padding preventing me from actually making contact with the person underneath the jacket. So think about anything that is getting in the way of your hands or your chest or anything else coming into contact with the person you're hugging. Now we're on to the part where I tell you to chill out. And I know people don't like to hear that. Dude, just chill out. Or come on, can't you just chill out a bit? But what I'm really trying to say is relax. Just relax. Hugs are nice. Hugs can be cozy. The next hug might be the best part of your day. Relax into it and during it. Your hugging partner, they're going to sense if you're tense. So don't be tense. Relax. Tension, at least I found, is a contagious and hug-killing variable. And I know we're getting into duration in a moment. A tense hugger turns a 5-second hug into a serious endurance test. Nobody wants that. The wet noodle hug also generally comes from someone overcorrecting from tense to floppy instead of finding a place that's really warm and grounded. Of course, there are exceptions, despite my son telling me otherwise. The wet noodle hug, or a loose hug, as is probably a better term to call it. A loose hug can meet someone where they're at right now. A grieving person who comes in for a hug with low energy, they're not failing at hugging. They're telling you something about their state of being at that moment. Receiving that full presence instead of trying to amp them up, that is its own skill. For a highly touch-sensitive person, a soft, low-pressure hug, that's not a lesser hug. It may be the only hug they know or have available, and it's still real. Sometimes the question isn't whether you or your hugging partner can bring big energy. It's whether you or they can be present enough to meet each other where you are right now. And what I'm about to say does not contradict that, because I advocate for hugging for 5 seconds or more. And yes, fellas, even if it's two dudes hugging. I'm telling you that going in with that intention makes a world of difference, even if you don't make it to 5 seconds. My research and experience across cultures and time says that most people's hugging default is like 1 or 2 seconds. Now, I would encourage you to not mentally count the seconds either while you're hugging, because that's taking away from your presence. And the presence that you're bringing to the hug, that's a gift. That's a big, quiet gift. If your hugging partner, if they're clearly breaking away after 1 second, let them go. I am saying let's challenge, but not force, anyone to extend what's normal for a hug. Duration isn't always a signal that a hug is real or good. For neurodivergent folks or people with specific types of trauma or chronic pain, a 5-second hug with any kind of pressure, both literal and figurative, it can be genuinely overwhelming. And I've done this enough where it's not because they don't want connection. Some people's nervous systems or brains, they just process differently. All right. So next, don't surprise anyone with a hug. Telegraph that sucker. Telegraph that it's coming. Now, I'm a fan of letting the person I'd like to hug know that they are about to be in for a hug unless they tell me or show me otherwise, assuming that I've already had some kind of consent. You can extend your hand straight out towards the intended huggy. I actually prefer, and maybe this is just because my arms are so long, like the spread your arms wide to telegraph your intentions that I'm coming in for a hug. That approach really works for me. And I've seen people's faces light up as they're like, we're doing this. We're doing this. Like this guy, he's got his arms out wide. This is a big hug coming my way. You can also start from a neutral body position and simply ask, "Can we hug?" if you like that better. All right, next, coming straight on. I know this might just be me, but I'd often rather skip the hug altogether if there's a side hug or a 45-degree angle hug coming my way. Because this is going to sound dramatic, I know. That's where many hugs go to quietly die. With the side hug or the side angle hug, the shoulder to shoulder hug, a lot of times it's essentially just a handshake with arms, unless you have no alternative. There are times where it's good if you are both sitting down or walking side by side. Maybe I shouldn't poo poo the side hug so much. It's useful in certain contexts, like if someone is recovering from upper body surgery, someone has a disability that makes a frontal hug painful or unstable, someone with trauma. A side hug could be the maximum that they could give. It's not a cop out. It's a genuine act of extending as far as they can. A corollary to this principle of coming straight on is leading with an appropriate body part. I prefer to lead with my belly if possible because sometimes, the best hugs are those when your torsos touch before you get your arms wrapped around each other. I'll note, hugs with groin to groin contact, that's best left to lovers. But chest to chest hugs, those are wonderful, even between different genders. There's nothing sexual going on. It's just a hug. And if your culture is anything like mine, damn, we over-sexualize everything from beer to cars to cards, and especially the human touch. You and I, we are not going to fall into that trap. Next, this is coming from a tall dude. Smooth out any height difference if you can. My rough guideline is if there's more than like a 6-inch or a 15-centimeter height difference between huggers, if possible, find a step, street curb, grassy slope, stool, something to even out the gap. And that also allows you to look each other in the eye as you're going in for the hug, which I gotta say, that's a nice little bonus. You don't have to put a collapsible stepladder in your purse or pocket. I wish those things existed, but they don't. You might, though. You might want to get down on your knees if you're the taller person and let the shorter person, probably a kid, or in my case, one of my best friends as well, they can walk right into your now much more accessible hugging zone. I don't want you to overdo this one, though. Not every hug needs a step stool. You don't want it to be awkward while you delay the hug until you find a park bench for your hugging partner to stand on. Don't ask me how I know that for a fact. One more pro tip for my fellow tall folks. If you're taller than your hugging partner, don't rest your chin on their shoulder. Tuck your chin into their back gently, or don't make chin contact at all because it's uncomfortable for chin to be digging into someone. And when your chin's not in the way, it allows for a deeper squeeze for what is making contact to make better contact. Again, maybe it's because I'm tall, maybe it's because I have long arms, but I feel that the person with the longer arms should have their arms on the outside. When I'm hugging a kid or someone with significantly shorter arms and they try to wrap their arms around mine, I feel like a T-Rex whose arms are pinned to my body. That's not good. And yeah, it might be a little selfish, but please, it's okay. Like, you can have one arm on the inside and one arm on the outside. I still don't think that works as well as someone with both hands inside and the other person with the longer arms with both hands outside. Okay, now we're going to talk about pressure. My big tip here is don't start too strong. It's not some kind of manly handshake contest. I'll crush you in my embrace. No. This allows you to discover when you're starting gentle or not starting strong. It allows you to discover and match the hugging intensity of your partner if you want to. Think about it as the active listening of hugging, and read the signs before you start. If is the person you're about to hug, are they in a wheelchair? Did they recently have surgery? Do they have osteoporosis, where a firm squeeze is legitimately painful to them? So starting softer than you'd normally like or normally do lets you calibrate. It also prevents you from overwhelming someone. They just came in for a gentle hug and then boom, they got bear mauled. If the hug seems one-sided, the other person's clearly not digging it or they're not really engaging, then yes, release early. Don't try to gradually bring on the intensity and the pressure. On the other hand, when your hugging partner thinks it's over, it's not. It's not. Often it's not. Bring them back in for one last solid squeeze. I like to think about it as putting an exclamation point on a great hug. It's a bonus. The hug has to be good in the first place for the additional squeeze to land well. And I have had this happen. And the bonus squeeze, it might backfire based on the context. I've never done this before, but I'm just thinking of an example like it might not be appropriate to give a bonus squeeze to a stranger you just met at a funeral. This is where reading the room and reading the relationship comes in. So far, we've been talking about the hug prep, mindset, and real-time mechanics. But once you're no longer embracing, look at your hugging partner in the eyes. Maybe even give them a genuine smile. It doesn't have to be a full smile. You don't have to show teeth. A good grin can work too. But the general vibe you're trying to communicate is, that was nice. I like that. Or I like you. Having a good transition out of the hug puts a nice cherry on top of the sundae. So those are 15 of my tips. But none of the things I just mentioned come from the shocking amount of advice and opinions on the internet about how to hug based on so many variables like your relationship, gender, culture, or other differences. Now, I don't say that to diminish the fact that a hug should and will vary based on all these variables. So, for example, people have a lot to say about what it says when you wrap your arms around someone's waist versus their chest versus their neck. I say, don't overanalyze it. Let your height difference and relationship comfort intuitively guide you. Also, there's a lot of chatter out there about where your hands go. There's lots to say here. I'll say the only guidance that I have is avoid the boobs and butt. Unless you already know that kind of thing is cool with or enjoyed by your huggy. You might be thinking, do I slide my hands up and down from the shoulders to the waist? Is it okay? Can I give someone a mini massage or gentle pats on the back while I hug? It's totally up to you, your context and your relationship. Talking, speaking while hugging. Do you do that? Do you stay silent? What do you do? I prefer a silent hug where the talking is done with the energy that we're bringing to each other. But that one is totally up to you. I've experienced wonderful hugs where someone whispers, I love you. Or I shout something like, golly gee whiz, pal, it sure is swell to see you. You could talk if you want. What about your breath? Now, if you're hugging for more than, say, a 3 count, is it okay to let out an audible breath that says, hey, I like this. I like you. I say it is. In fact, I say you betcha. But you have to decide that yourself. One other note about breathing during a hug. It's pretty much the holy grail of hugging if you can actively sync your breathing with your hugging partner. A shared exhale during a hug, it's one of the fastest ways to create genuine co-regulation of your nervous systems. And yes, there is nerdy and legit neuroscience on this. Synchronized breathing between two or more people activates our vagus nerve, drops our cortisol levels. Lots of other good stuff I'm sure I have no idea exists. For me, I typically don't attempt the synchronized breathing trick because my natural breaths are much longer than most folks, and it feels forced to try and sync up. But if you do, oh man, it's beautiful. What about the bro hug with slaps on the back? Surprise hugs from behind? The Beverly Hills air kiss hug? You might need to look some of these up, I know. Scratching someone's back while hugging? Bear hugs, the pound hug, also known as a gangsta hug, a bro grab, or a homie hug. Like, what about all those kinds of things? There are, there are places for them. They're all situational and they can be fun, even amazing change of pace from the standard hug that I'm promoting. I got an amazing bro hug at Burning Man, and actually, I'll tell you the story. If you get really into hugging, may I recommend something I experienced at Burning Man called the long, uncomfortable hug? Here's the story. While riding my bike in the dark Nevada desert during Burning Man, I ran straight into a temporary art installation called Hug Deli. Hug Deli. Yeah. I want you to imagine a small, open frame shack with a giant sign above it where you can order hugs from a menu and you pay with compliments. I know, amazing. It's amazing. There was a couple behind the counter when I got to Hug Deli, and they were taking orders. It turns out, they had just gotten married an hour ago and wanted to run the Hug Deli for a bit to celebrate. Those are my kind of people for sure. So I had to decide. Did I want a warm and fuzzy hug? A group hug? Something else? Well, I ended up ordering the long and uncomfortable hug from the menu, and the bride decided that she was going to do it with me. Let me just say, it was incredible. It probably went on for 2+ minutes, and I even got a side order of nosies to go along with it. After we released each other, I whispered conspiratorially to her. I said, "The joke's on you. There's no such thing as a hug that goes on too long when you're me." We laughed. She loved my energy and hug and said that I was actually the perfect person to run Hug Deli for a while. So I did. I helped run the Hug Deli for about an hour and gave many memorable hugs, like the warm and fuzzy to an obscenely sweaty man. If you're looking for more of the lighter, playful side of hugs, I recommend watching a hilarious video about hugging from BuzzFeed, which I've linked to in the show notes. You can find those at joelzaslofsky.com/SMJ003. As they joke in the video, a first hug isn't about feeling good. It's about gently squishing a stranger against yourself and giving you something uncomfortable to bond over. If both parties do it correctly, both should be riding a wave of relief. That's such a strange and uncomfortable custom passed so fairly. Oh, gosh. All right. Now, I know that was a lot. So, to recap, the energetic, mental, and physical parts of a great hug. 1, it comes from the inside. The hug is primarily an energetic exchange, not a physical one. 2, you're getting a hug as well. Don't get so focused on giving that you forget to receive. 3, give options. When in doubt, let someone choose the greeting or goodbye gesture from your verbal menu of options, but stack the deck in your hugging favor by listing the hug first. 4, put the phone away first. You can't fully embrace someone when you're still embracing your phone. 5, relax. Just relax. Tension is one of the most hug-destroying variables. 6, aim for 5 seconds or more. Going in with the intention of 5 seconds changes everything, even if you don't get there. 7, telegraph the hug. Put your arms out. Let your intentions be known. 8, come straight on. Maybe you might even have to reposition your feet if you have to and aim straight. There are exceptions for medical, physical, or trauma-related reasons where a side hug is someone's genuine best. 9, lead with the right body part. I feel the best hugs start when your torsos touch before your arms even get there. 10, smooth out the height difference. Find a step, a curb, a grassy slope, something. Or just get on your knees if you have to. 11, mind the chin. Don't dig into someone's shoulder or anywhere else. It might be uncomfortable. 12, longer arms go on the outside where someone might be hugging like a T-Rex. 13, don't start too strong. This is the active listening of hugging. Start softer than you want to finish. Calibrate the pressure along the way. And avoid bear mauling someone who came in for something gentle. 14, one last squeeze. Just when they think it's over, it's not. Yeah. Try for an exclamation point on the hug at the end, but only when the hug is already good and the context calls for it. And 15, the graceful exit. How you leave a hug matters almost as much as how you enter one. As you separate, make eye contact, give a genuine smile. The kind that says, hey, hey, that was nice. I like you, I like us, I like this. That is the cherry on top of the sundae. Again, notice how almost all the tips involve something other than the actual physical connection of the hug. Because I feel like I mentioned it once or twice that hugs are primarily an energetic thing. All right. Now you know better how to give and receive a great hug. Just think about how much better off all your future huggies, huggies. Oh, that's a funny phrase. Will be as a result. It's enough to make me, and hopefully you, feel so good that you just need to go out and hug someone right now. Am I right? You can find links and all the stuff I spoke about, takeaways, and a transcript in the show notes at joelzaslowski.com/SMJ003. Did you appreciate this episode or the show in general? I mean, by all means, give me a hug when you see me to say, yes, I did, Joel. And if you can't do that, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts because it helps me stay motivated and it gets the show in front of more folks. I'll be back with you again to sling stories, facilitate connections, and whip up experiments to help you make friends with people, possibilities, and ideas, and occasionally talk about hugs.